All right.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Jennifer Williamson, State Representative from House District 36. This bill you have before you today is a product of a lot of hard work and a lot of stakeholders' engagement. And so I just want to start by thanking everyone who worked very, very hard on this bill, including my staff, the city staff, the speaker's staff, among others. So it's well documented in social science research that we alter our behavior when we know we're being watched. And we alter it even more if the watcher is considered an authority figure. A 2013 study done in Southern California tested this theory in relation to law enforcement body cameras by posing a simple question: does the use of body cameras result in better public safety outcomes for both officers and the public? As part of a one-year random control trial, half of the officers in the Rialto Police Department wore body cameras during their shifts and the other half did not. The results were conclusive. In the group wearing cameras, there was a 50% reduction in use of force incidents over the control group. And in the small number of incidents that were recorded, all were found to be initiated by a member of the public. This is in contrast to the control group, where 4 of 17 incidents were determined to be initiated unnecessarily by the officer. During the trial, there were 10 times fewer citizen complaints against the department than the previous 12 months. It was clear the use of body cameras had a positive impact on everyday interactions between police and the public. While the footage can increase transparency and accountability, this study proved that the very presence of cameras seems to discourage the escalation of violence in the first place, keeping officers and citizens safer. This bill creates essentially a policy floor for law enforcement agencies that want to use body cameras. It is not a mandate. There were many bills introduced this session that would have mandated the use of body cameras, and this is not one of them. Let me tell you a little bit about what's included in this bill. This bill requires that a camera be on whenever an officer has reasonable suspicion that a violation of the law is taking place. It may not be turned off until that contact with the individual suspected of the violation is terminated. Local agencies may adopt exemptions to this rule, provided that they are based on reasonable concerns for the privacy of the officer or the public, the safety of the officer or the public, or exigent circumstances. I want to make sure it's clear on the record as well that this bill is not intended to negatively impact any current community policing practices or unduly restrict agencies from crafting an appropriate policy for their community. This bill also requires mandatory retention of non-event footage in order to comply with both public records law and the Oregon Tort Claims Act. To protect against inappropriate use of the database that has footage off from the body cameras, the bill makes that footage accessible only for legitimate law enforcement purposes. And this bill also includes a ban on facial recognition technology. And the reason that that was included is currently that's not being used in Oregon for any of the jurisdictions that use body cameras. But those of us who worked on the bill felt it was an important enough policy conversation if law enforcement were to start using facial recognition technology that we wanted to have that conversation here in the legislature and not try to have it after the fact, after that technology was already being used. So you will hear lots about a complex and somewhat controversial part of this bill, whether or not body camera footage should be exempt from public record requests. Across the country, states and cities are grappling with this and how to strike the appropriate balance between accountability and privacy when it comes to releasing this footage. The bill in front of you strikes what I believe is a good balance with, like I said, the stakeholders that we had at the table. And those interests span the spectrum, from those who wished that the footage is completely available, and those who want it to be non-accessible and not disclosed for any reason. So Section 5 of this bill, I think, comes close to balancing all of these interests. It's a middle ground that allows for footage to be released if it's in the public interest, whether the incident recorded involved use of force or not. This bill does not change current public record law that allows for exemptions in cases of internal investigations or court proceedings. This section also includes a provision that requires the blurring of all faces upon release of the footage so that the privacy of bystanders as well as those involved and law enforcement are protected. This technology is still very new, and part of the goal of this bill was to give enough flexibility for local jurisdictions to adopt the use of body cameras without a mandate from the state on how to use them. And you'll hear a lot from folks, like I said, who are stakeholders in this arena. I am hoping that with the use of body cameras, we keep a close watch on how they're being used. And this is not the end of this conversation. I'm sure in 2016 we'll have a conversation about it, and 2017 and beyond. And so I think this is a good start. I think this bill will encourage law enforcement to reach out to their communities to craft policies that fit the unique situations for each of the communities in the state. Thank you.